Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stelliferous, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. Today's episode is unlike any I've recorded before. It's not about claws or teeth, wings or venom, no. Today's glyph is made of something much older, much deeper, music. But not the kind that lifts your spirits, the one that sinks its claws into your soul, one note at a time. So it all started when I received a strange object from Professor Orion. A broken shard of glass that vibrated with sound even when silent. He said it came from a collapsed amphitheater just outside the Storm Scar Delta, a place long forgotten by the locals and left to echo in ruin. Orion believed it was a rhythm glyph fragment. He warned me, if the shard starts to hum, run. Of course, you know me, I didn't listen. I made my way to the Opus ruins, a sunken concert hall hidden beneath a jungle overtaken by vines and silence. My glyphid pulsed the moment I stepped inside, as if trying to warn me. And then I heard it, a melody, a faint melody at first, but getting louder as it went on. It wasn't just in my ears. I could feel it in my bones and in the air, in the floorboards. It was playing me. That's when I saw him, floating above the center stage, cloaked in tattered sheet music, surrounded by broken flutes and violin strings that twisted through the air like ribbons. His porcelain mask was cracked, but somehow still elegant. This was Tones. Professor Orion had told me stories of the Musakith, early rhythm glyphs who were said to conduct harmony across Nibiru's natural frequencies. Tones was one of them, a conductor of the resonant wells, ancient sites where sound shaped the world. But centuries ago, during the first vowel severance, Tones' symphony was interrupted. Its final note never played. The silence broke him. And in the wake of that broken composition, his mind began to fracture. Now he doesn't play music to heal, he plays it to control. When I raised my glyphit, Tones responded with his first move. Dirge Pulse, a haunting wave of sound that slowed time and me, dragging my limbs like molasses. I could hear every heartbeat echo. I sent out Orabeak and Ignazura to help stabilize the rhythm field, but he wasn't done. He unleashed crescendo chains, sharp harmonic bindings that trapped Orabeak in mid-flight, each chain tightening with the beat. Every time the tempo rose, so did the pain. When I centered with a reflective glyph ability, Tones used Requiem of Reversal, twisting my move and reflecting it back in a corrupted, dissonant form. He was writing his own version of my fight, and then the final move, Dissonant Rift, ripped across the stage, shattering my equilibrium and scrambling our glyphs' abilities. For 3 turns straight, it was chaos, but then I remembered something. That shard from Orion, the one humming, it matched the song I'd heard in the dreams days earlier. I sang, just 3 notes. The ending of the symphony tones had never finished. I don't know how I knew them. Maybe the shard taught me. Maybe the music was waiting for someone who could fill it. Tones froze. The broken instruments fell from the air. He looked at me with not anger, but relief. He didn't vanish. He didn't attack again. He simply lowered to the stage and dissolved into a single floating note, etched into my glyphit with a golden shimmer. I didn't catch Tones. I completed him. Back at my pyramid house, Senna asked me what happened. I told her not all glyphs need to be fought. Some just need to be heard. Tones may have been a villain to some, but he was never evil, just unfinished. And now his melody plays in harmony. And so, yeah, I should say that Zena did let me take Ignazura for this fight, because her and Luna could not be there for this fight, so they let me borrow their glyphs. I had caught the music glyph. Tones was mine. Thanks to my two best friends Zena and Luna for lending me their glyphs because they couldn't make it. Now the hard part was next, and that's telling Professor Orion the news. He'd been saying for weeks that there was more to studying at Luan Academy than catching glyphs. I really don't believe it, but, you know. I walked up the long brick path that led to the academy and went inside. I moved down the corridor that always led me to Professor Orion's class. And there he was, pored over some old dusty star charts, as always. I caught him, I said. It took a second for Professor Orion to look up, but when he did, his face had a stern look on it. You know, Quasar, there is more to learning than catching the glyphs. There's other classes as well, like history, science, and a couple others like potions and broom-riding, and magic, for those who have found themselves with their own magic powers, Orion said. Was I one of them, I wondered? Was Orion a wizard? I stood there feeling the weight of his words settle in the air around me. Professor Orion was still staring at me, his intense gaze unwavering, though his expression had softened slightly as if giving me space to process what he'd just said. I shifted on my feet, unsure whether I should explain myself or ask the question that had been burning at the back of my mind. Professor, I began, my voice quieter now than before. Do you have magic powers? The question hung in the air, and for a moment I thought I might have crossed a line. Orion set his star charts aside, folding his hands at his desk with a calm but calculated motion. That's a rather personal question, Quasar, he said, his voice steady but carrying an edge of curiosity. But it's not the first time you've asked something like that. You want to know about magic, don't you? I nodded, yes. I feel like there's so much more to learn beyond just capturing glyphs now. Maybe I could. Orion held up a hand, stopping me mid-sentence. That's exactly what I mean. There are many paths to follow at Luan, Quasar. Your talent may be with glyphs, but that doesn't mean they'll always be the only thing you'll excel at. I couldn't help but feel the sting of disappointment, but you said... Yes, I've said catching glyphs is only part of the journey, Orion interrupted, but it's not about putting all your focus on one thing. Magic, history, even sciences. These things shape the world around us, and you need to understand them. Understanding your glyphs, how they fit into the greater world, will help you more than just knowing how to catch them. A sense of unease twisted in my stomach. Was I not allowed to focus on glyphs anymore? Was there something wrong with being determined to learn about them? Orion must have sensed my confusion because he continued, his tone now softer. Your connection to tones, he said thoughtfully, shows that you have more potential than you may realize. But tones is not just any glyph. He represents sound, harmony, and balance. You might be feeling that pull to understand music and magic because they are tied together in ways that even I can't fully understand or explain. I paused. Harmony, balance, those words, they resonated with me, but I still couldn't fully grasp what he meant. I had caught tones, yes, but was I meant to control him, or was there something deeper to our bond? Professor, I ask, my curiosity taking over again. What do you mean by balance? Is that something I need to focus on too? Orion stood up, walking slowly towards the far side of the room, where a large wooden bookshelf full of ancient tomes lined the wall. He glanced over his shoulder as he pulled a dusty book from the shelf and brought it to me. Balance is what makes everything work together, he said, flipping it open to a page filled with faded illustrations of different elemental glyphs and harmonious formations. It's what keeps chaos from swallowing everything around us. You have a unique gift, Quasar, and Tones isn't just a lesson in capturing glyphs. It's a lesson in understanding them and yourself. The two words settled into me, the weight of them only just starting to sink in. Could it be that my path here wasn't about becoming the best capturing glyph? Was there something else waiting for me, something I hadn't yet discovered? Was it time to take my studies in a completely different direction? Orion's voice brought me back to the present. I'll allow you to continue your focus on Tones, Quasar, but I want you to start considering the bigger picture. I'll enroll you in a few new classes next week, and I want you to pay attention, not just to the practical side of things, but to how everything connects. I nodded, a new sense of determination filling me. It wasn't just about glyphs, it was about understanding the world they came from. The rhythm of life, the harmony between the elements, and maybe, just maybe, I would learn something even more important along the way. All right, Professor Orion, I'll try to keep an open mind, I said, a new sense of resolve settling in me. Good, Orion replied with a small smile. Now tell me more about Tones. What have you learned so far? And as I began to explain, I realized this journey was only just beginning, and the more I understood, the more I would uncover. And as I explained what I had experienced with Tones, I felt the weight of his words as I spoke. Tones had a unique rhythm, something I'd never felt before in any other glyph. It was just the notes. It wasn't just the notes, it was how they connected with my very soul, pulling at the deepest parts of me. I felt like we were bound by something far greater than I had imagined. As I was deep in my explanation, the door to the classroom creaked open, and Professor Higete, the Academy's assistant, stepped inside with a stack of papers in hand. Ah, good, I see you're both still here, Higete said with a brief smile, walking toward us. She glanced at me, then at Orion before setting the stack of papers down on the desk. Orion raised an eyebrow. What's this? Higete flickered her dark hair over her shoulder, clearly unfazed. You're not going to like this, Professor, but it's time to drop the bomb. Quasar has been officially enrolled into the 3 magic classes, potions, broom-riding, and the new magic curriculum for students discovering their own powers. She glanced at me, a mischievous smile crossed her face. Congratulations. I blinked. Wait, what? Magic classes? The words felt foreign, almost out of place. I wasn't sure I was ready for that. Orion sighed, shaking his head. You don't think I would let you get by with just catching glyphs, do you? I felt a wave of unease settle over me, but I don't even know if I have magic powers. That's for you to discover, Orion replied. You won't get far if you don't open your mind to all that Luan Academy has to offer. Magic doesn't just find you when you ignore it. You have to open it. And besides, it will give you a well-rounded understanding of the world you're diving into. But Higete cut me off. Don't worry, Quasar. You're not the only one enrolling. Nova's in all 3 of the classes too. I froze. Nova, my rival, the one who always seemed to outshine me, the one who constantly made me feel like I was a step behind. She's always been there, hovering just out of reach, waiting for the moment when she could prove herself better than me. Nova, I asked, unable to hide the disbelief in my voice. She's in the same classes? Yes, of course, Higete said with a shrug. She's been a prodigy in magic for a while now. I imagine she'll breeze through the classes, but don't let that discourage you. Magic is about understanding, not just power. And it's about time we have a good rivalry, don't you think? I could feel my heartbeat quicken, the thought of facing Nova again. This time in classes where magic itself would be the challenge didn't seem like an opportunity. I felt like I was being thrown into a game where the rules weren't in my favor. But Orion's words echoed in my mind. You won't get far if you don't open your mind to all that Luan has to offer. I swallowed hard. So when do these classes start? He could take a glance at Orion. Starting tomorrow. You'll find your schedule posted on the bulletin board. I suggest you get there early. Nova's always the first to show up. The next day I came faster than I expected. I stood in front of the large bulletin board, my heart pounding with uncertainty. The list of names were pinned up, each class filled with students. I searched for my name, a quick line of text beneath the headlines, potions, broom-riding, and magic. There it was, right next to Nova's name. I couldn't help the small knot that twisted in my stomach. Nova. And sure enough, there she was, standing nearby, her gaze flickering over the board. Eyes narrowing when she saw my name. I felt her stare before she even spoke. So, Quasar, Nova said coolly, stepping forward. I see we're in the same classes. How lucky for you. Looks like it'll be even more fun having you around to see me excel. I gritted my teeth, not sure if I should respond with a quick retort or just ignore her, but before I could decide, a voice came from behind me. Don't let her get to you, Quasar, a familiar voice said, soft but reassuring. It was Luna and Zena, standing just a few feet away, offering me encouraging smiles. Zena nudged me with her elbow. You've got this. Just remember, rivalry or not, we're all here to learn, so don't let Nova or anyone else distract you from that. I nodded, trying to push aside the doubt creeping in. This wasn't just about competing with Nova. It was about understanding magic, about figuring out who I truly was in this world beyond the glyphs. Except that, well, we had to use the glyphs in our learning with magic as well. You're right, I said, turning to face the bulletin board again. This is my chance to learn everything. So, now that it was the day of our first class and it had arrived faster than I expected it to, the long corridors of Luan Academy seemed even more daunting now, with me standing in front of the bulletin board still, my mind swirling with uncertainty about what lay ahead. Nova's presence in the same classes still lingered in the back of my thoughts, but I tried to push it aside. This wasn't about her. It was about me, about discovering what I could really do. As I made my way to the magic classroom, I found the door wide open. The classroom was a large, airy space with sunlight pouring in through the tall windows, illuminating the wooden floor that stretched out in every direction. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with ancient tomes and scrolls, many of which looked far too delicate to even touch. At the front of the room stood a long wooden table piled with various magic implements, wands, crystals, vials of swirling liquids, and at the very back a large chalkboard covered in strange glyphs and symbols. I wasn't alone for long. One by one, students filtered into the classroom, including Nova, who looked as composed as always, her dark eyes scanning the room as if she was analyzing every inch. She barely spared a glance at me. The other students took their seats quietly, and I followed suit, sitting towards the back, hoping to blend in. The door to the classroom creaked as it opened, and in walked Professor Talia, a tall woman with sharp features and a commanding presence. She wore a long robe of deep indigo, and her hair was tied back into a tight knot. A subtle shimmering aura surrounded her, and the air seemed to hum with energy as she stepped forward. Welcome to Advanced Magic Studies, she said, her voice clear and calm, yet somehow resonant with authority. This class will teach you how to work with magic and your glyphs in harmony. You are not simply learning to wield spells or catch glyphs. You are learning to become one of them, to synchronize your powers and become a living symphony. There was a pause as everyone observed her words. Some students looking uncertain, others intrigued. I felt the weight of what she was saying sink in. This wasn't just about me and my glyphs. This was about working in sync with them. A thought I hadn't fully considered. Professor Talia's eyes swept the room, landing on Nova. For those who have already discovered their magic, she continued, you will begin the process of uniting your personal magic with your glyph energy. Nova, for instance, has an affinity with elemental magic and can use her glyphs to amplify her powers. But we will go beyond that, learning how to draw out the full potential when they work together. I glanced over at Nova, who gave a brief, confident nod. Of course, she had already mastered the art of amplifying her glyph's power. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy, but I quickly pushed it aside. This was about my own journey, and I was here to learn. Professor Talia's gaze shifted to me next, and you, Quasar, will learn to work with your Rhythm Glyph Tones. Your task is not just to catch him, but to synchronize with his energy, allowing his music to flow within you, as you flow within him. My heart skipped a beat. Synchronize with tones? What? That's a sobering thought. Talia continued as if reading my mind. The magic here isn't about control. It's about balance. You must learn how to allow the music to flow, to become part of the harmony between your powers and those of your glyphs. No more force, no more dominance. As Professor Talia's words echoed in my head, I felt a strange mixture of nerves, excitement, and anticipation. The idea of syncing with tones, of becoming part of the music, was something I hadn't considered before. But now that I had the opportunity, I was determined to do my best. After all, the magic here wasn't just about the glyphs. It was about finding harmony, about how hard it is, and how hard could it be. I had to admit, I was feeling a little cocky. Nova had always seemed a step ahead, her magic sharp and controlled, but maybe, just maybe, this class would be my chance to prove I could hold my own. Professor Talia clapped her hands, drawing our attention. All right, let's begin the exercise, everyone. Take out your glyphs. We'll start with a simple synchronization practice. You'll each pair with another student and try to draw out the first note of harmony. This is the foundation for all that follows. The bond must be formed first before we can take the next step. I glanced at Nova, who had already prepared her glyphid, resting beside her, glowing faintly with anticipation. I could see her setting her posture as though preparing for a challenge. A small smirk played on the corners of her lips. She was always ready for something like this, wasn't she? Feeling a spark of confidence, I reached for Tone's glyphid. I began to hum a soft, steady tone in my mind, trying to get the rhythm just right. I had practiced with him enough by now. I could feel the connection. His melody was woven into my very thoughts. But as I tried to sync our energies, something went horribly wrong. I felt the magic swell, but instead of the usual smooth connection, a wild burst of discordant sound shot out of me. It was like cacophony of screeching violins, squawking horns, and banging drums, all rolled into one. The sound lashed out uncontrollably, causing a strange flicker of light to dance in the air. Tone's energy flared up wildly, and for a moment I couldn't hear my own thoughts. Then everything snapped into place. But something was very wrong. I blinked. Standing before me in the spot where Nova had been moments ago was a giant star. But not just any star. A star with a pig's nose. The bright, glowing star had a round, plump snout in the center of its form, complete with two tiny nostrils, and the cosmic energy around it seemed to shimmer and wobble like it wasn't quite stable. There was a dead silence in the room. The entire class froze. I could feel their eyes on me, but I couldn't bring myself to look at Nova, or, well, the star that had replaced her. I felt my cheeks burning as I took in what I had just done. I had turned Nova into a cosmic star with a pig nose. Nova, however, was not amused. The star glowed angrily, the light intensifying around the pig nose before it began to speak in a distorted, aggravated tone. "What did you do?" The voice was unmistakably Nova's. The star pulsated angrily, the pig nose wrinkling as though she was trying to frown. "This is not what I had in mind for our first day of magic class," Nova said. I winced, mortified, and tried to step forward. "Nova, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just..." "Clearly, you don't know what happened," Nova's voice rang out, sounding even more irritated. She flickered and twirled in the air as if trying to control the chaos of her current form. "This is absolutely ridiculous. A pig nose? Are you serious?" Professor Talia's calm, yet concerned voice broke through the chaos. "Quasar, did you try to synchronize your powers with Nova without considering the consequences of magic that isn't properly aligned?" I nodded sheepishly. I thought it would be easy, but I just wanted to get in sync with tones." Talia sighed deeply, but I could tell there was no anger in her voice, just disappointment. "Magic is not a game, Quasar. It's a powerful and unpredictable thing, especially when you haven't mastered or controlled it. You were too eager to force a bond without understanding the intricacies of the rhythm and the energy behind it." I could feel Nova's fury radiating through the air. "Great. Now I have to deal with this pig-nosed star situation," she snapped, her cosmic form pulsing angrily. "Do you have any idea how much I hate pigs?" she added, as though that was the greatest injustice of all. I swallowed hard, desperate to fix my mistake. "Nova, I swear I'll fix this. Just give me a second." "Fix it? You think you can fix it?" she retorted, her voice high-pitched and sharp, the cosmic glow around her intensifying with her frustration. "Do you even know how to undo this? How do you think it feels to be stuck as this? A star pig?" I could hear the strain in her voice. She wasn't just angry, she was embarrassed. And I didn't blame her. This was humiliating experience for both of us. "Nova," I said, slowly backing away from her, trying to think clearly. "I swear I'll fix it. I just need to." "Fix it later," Nova snapped, her voice echoing through the room. "Just don't touch anything else unless you know what you're doing." Professor Talia cleared her throat, and the tension in the room seemed to settle for a brief moment. "You've made a mistake, Quasar, and Nova is understandably upset, but this is a learning moment. We will help you to correct this error. Nova will return to her original form, but you will need to focus and recalibrate your understanding of synchronization. You've clearly disrupted something deeply embedded within Nova's magic." Nova flickered again, and I could sense the anger in her aura shimmering down through, although I could still hear the faint grumble of irritation. "Fine," she muttered, her star form shifting uneasily, "but you better figure this out quickly. And if you ever give me a pig nose again, we're going to have problems." I nodded quickly, my heart still racing, but more focused now on fixing the mistake I had made. I had to fix it. But as I began to focus on correcting the magic, I realized something. This wasn't just about controlling my glyph or Nova's magic. It was about understanding the rhythm of everything. How even a simple mistake could cause a ripple, a wave that affected others in ways I hadn't expected. And it was then that I realized that made me more determined than ever to master the harmony between my magic, tones, and the unpredictable forces around me. And as I focused, Nova started to gain her form back. Although she wasn't very happy when she did gain her form back, she looked over at me and said, "Quasar, I will get you for this." And that's pretty much how it ended. It ended right there because the bell rang and we left school. So went back home and we sat on our porch, me, Zena, and Luna, and we talked about my day and what happened. Well, my friends, fellow travelers, and monster catchers abound. This has been the Monster Catcher's Journal. May the light of Nibiru shine down on you. Bye now. See you next week.